Hi, my name is Barbara Wainwright. I'm the founder and CEO of Wainwright Global Institute of Professional Coaching. I'm really pleased that you've joined us because I am going to introduce you to someone who's very special, very talented, and his name is Mitch Russo. He started a software company in his garage and sold it for 8 figures, then went on to build a company to over 25 million with Tony Robbins and Chet Holmes. He's been nominated twice for Inc. magazine's Entrepreneur of the Year, and his book, Power Tribes: How Certification Can Explode Your Business, helps readers create new business divisions using high performance certification programs. And as you all know, that's exactly what I've done. So that's great that there's now a book that helps you get through the process too. His software for coaches, Clientfolio, fills a void in the coaching software marketplace by helping coaches make their clients more productive with goal tracking and accountability. And the great part about that is that the clients can log into the system and update their tracking as well as see what's going on with their progress, which is really good. Mitch's newest book, Coach Elevation, blueprints his process for helping clients find their true purpose, which we all know is so important. And it helps to connect that to their true mission, which accelerates their progress, of course, in both business and life. So, Mitch, welcome to the call. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Barbara, I am so thrilled to be here. I'm such an admirer of what you've done and what you've accomplished, and just love your work. I mean, you really are serving, and I love how you show up. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, I know that our audience probably has a lot of questions after that introduction, but I'll just start with this one. Tell me, how did you get started in coaching?
So, Barbara, that's a great question. It's sort of funny because I never really thought of myself as a coach, but we spent a lot of time growing and building the company, and then as I may have mentioned, we grew it to well over 250,000 customers, and then from there we had over 100 employees. And after I sold it, other CEOs came to me and said, "Well, how'd you do that?" And I would meet them for coffee and we chat. Eventually, they said, "Well, can we bring our team in, and can you work with us?" And so I would rent a hotel room, and I would charge, like, I didn't know what to charge, maybe $500 for the day or something. And I felt embarrassed charging anything, really. I
Yeah.
mean, uh, so so I said okay, and then the feedback I kept getting was ridiculous. It was like, "Oh my God, this was like, now we know what to do," and all this other stuff.
Oh my goodness.
I'd be like, "Oh, okay, that's fine." And then all of a sudden, it's just kept happening. I didn't promote it. In fact, I didn't even. I love doing them, but I didn't really, wasn't a business model or anything. I just was helping people out. That's how I thought about it. And then it just kept mushrooming from there, and I kept getting more and more people. And I figured, you know what, I'm going to raise the price and see if people still want to do it. So I started doing that. I was raising the price, and people still wanted to do it. Anyway, um, that's how I started coaching. And but I stopped for a while. I stopped after I sold the company and it grew, and I was a coach for a while. I then got into helping Chet Holmes and Tony Robbins build business breakthroughs. So it started out with just Chet and I, and Chet
Wow.
had an established business, and he asked me to help him. I did, and then I became the president of his company. And then he introduced me through a meeting he was trying to make happen for, he said, 17 years, and that was to get Tony Robbins, uh, on a phone call or in the same room. So he did that, and then brought me in, and now the three of us are meeting every Thursday night back in 2007, I think,
Wow.
um, trying to figure out how we could work together and how we could create an entity that would be really, really valuable.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I just feel like you just kind of fell into coaching. You weren't like, oh, coaching, I should do that. You just went, I'm going to do these sessions. I'm going to invite some people. We'll see what happens. And then it just kept happening and happening. All of a sudden you realize, hey, I'm a coach.
Yeah. And what was fun was that I noticed after like 3 or 4 sessions, I sort of noticed I was doing similar things. So I started to, like, just casually build tools. Like, I started to build frameworks now. Like, I didn't have that at all. And then by the sixth time I did it, I had interview questionnaires. I have them fill out before they showed up. I then have a growth framework, a marketing framework, a sales framework, and I just start using these what I called frameworks at the time to basically keep the sessions on track so that folks can get a lot out of a day with me in a conference room, right? So
That's brilliant. And I just, kudos to you for being able to pull it all together after only 6 sessions of working together. You figured out what you needed, the templates that you needed. You just pulled it all together and made something really phenomenal, right?
well, it's funny. You have domain expertise that comes from somewhere. Like I didn't go to school to learn how to help companies scale. I had to go and get all the arrows in my back myself and figure it out.
Yeah.
And thank goodness succeed at it in order to qualify to be able to help others do it. I really think that's the way it should be. I think that's what makes a great coach, and that's probably why anybody who's looking to hire a coach should first say, well, have you done what I'm trying to do 5 times already or not? And if you haven't, I don't really want to hire you. That would be my perspective if I was looking for a coach. So I think you're right, though. I think it's important to have those things. You need to have some structure into what you're doing. And for me, it structure's always been being an engineer by background,
Right.
systems and structure are just the way I've learned to think over the years. But then when we got together with Tony and Chet, we started a coaching and training and consulting company.
Okay, so here's the golden question. What's it like working with Tony Robbins?
Well, Tony doesn't, walk around screaming at the top of his lungs, jumping up and down the way he does on stage. But it's the same Tony. I mean, Tony is Tony. There's no facade. There's just a guy who is amazingly brilliant and incredibly interested in helping everybody be better at what they do.
Love it.
So he has a viewpoint, and when you are aligned with his viewpoint, then it's much easier to work with him. So, for example, I was very much more aligned with his viewpoint on certain things than, say, Chet was. So, like, for example, Chet never wanted to give money back for money back guarantees. He'd always, just, but Tony and I, we built our business on creating relationships that sometimes started with a disgruntled customer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I had this thing that I did at Timeslips Corporation called the Ambassador Program.
Nice.
And the Ambassador Program was that when a disgruntled customer called, like the customer service department, they were immediately sent to a special rep who was capable of handling disgruntled customers. His name was Alan Singer.
Oh,
And so,
wow.
and so Alan would say, okay, well, what's the problem? I understand the problem. Well, let's start with this. We're giving you all your money back, but we want you to keep the product, and we'd like to train you on how to use it and go even further. And in fact, if necessary, we'll even send somebody out there to help you. How is that? And
Wow. That's
so,
customer service with a gold star.
right. So you know who Alan Singer really was?
No.
Me.
Hello, Alan.
I was paranoid about losing a customer, so I would never let it happen. And the reason is because word of mouth was so valuable. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to wow the customer,
Yep.
and I wanted them to go to the next, business meeting they had. So you're not going to believe this crazy experience I had with this little tiny company, Timeslips Corporation. You're not going to believe it. I actually asked for a refund. They gave my money back, and now they're even helping me get the product installed and running. I love these guys. You should try them too. And so those folks we nicknamed ambassadors, and we actually had hundreds of them.
Oh, wow.
So we were able to convert a lot of folks. And, it was by the way, that was one of the secrets of never actually having been sued. After dealing with all those lawyers and their money,
Yeah.
we've been threatened several times, but never actually sued. Because we were just so attentive in making sure that they really loved the company, the service, and the products. So when we built Business Breakthroughs, Chet, Tony and I were completely aligned on that whole way of thinking. And so we did the same thing. We also had an ambassador program, but we had, again, much higher level services. At the time we started with a $239 webinar, and lifetime value of a customer was $11,200.
Nice.
So we had lots of services that we would upsell to that client after they became part of our little world. And then we just did a lot of coaching, and I did a lot of coaching. I coached a lot of the teams, and I coached clients as well,
And
depending on the nature and scope of the client.
I was gonna say, and that is exactly why, because you were coaching so many clients, I'm gonna guess that's why you ended up creating coaching software to help you manage all those clients you were coaching. Is that right?
Yes, and here's what happened. So when about 5 years ago, I just started picking up my coaching business again. I was doing other things at the time. I did some real estate investing and some other sort of things, and I really started getting inquiries again about my certification program, and
Okay.
that started a lot of PR about my past and what I did, and people again started coming to me, and I started coaching. So I was at a point where I had, and I never wanted to grow beyond 5 clients at a time, because that means I can't enjoy the beach right outside my door here, and that wouldn't be good, right? So,
Exactly. Got it.
so I started looking for software, and I mean I had no intention of building a software company again. I was just looking for a product that I could use that would allow me to get what I wanted out of the coaching scenarios that I would put together.
Right.
And what I found is that there's lots of software out there for coaches, but there's very, very few products that really qualify, that I think of as the prime directive of Clientfolio. A, low cost. B, super easy to use. And C, most importantly, C, um, only has a 20-minute learning curve. So those for me, I mean, I bought products that were triple or quadruple the price of what I had, but were hours and hours of videos I had to watch in order to make it work. And I have a little bit of ADD, so I got distracted and I wouldn't do it. And then darn it, I'm paying $300 a month for this stupid thing. I might as well learn to use it.
Right.
And then finally I said, you know what? What would it take for me to cobble something together on my own? Now, here was my problem. My problem was that I had spreadsheets, I had notepads, I had browser windows open, I had mind maps open, and I had all these things that I'm juggling during every single session. And now at the end of the session, I had to extract all of this information to drop it into an email and send it to the client as their homework email, right?
Right. Oh my gosh.
But then following week, when I go back into coach them again, I got to go find that email and I got to start all over again. And so you could see what I was saying. So I had to solve this problem.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
was
You had too many clients. You couldn't really scale
no
unless you had software. And I
right.
don't know if you're familiar with my background is also in software. So
Oh, I didn't know.
oh yeah. So here's the great thing that I love is that your software is what I call intuitive. You don't have to spend a whole lot of time to figure it out. And I
Right.
think it's so critical. If something is too complicated where you have to go to read the manual to figure out what's to do next, it's too much. Most
It
people
is.
don't want to be bothered with that. So I think it's so cool that you had the knowledge to be able to put together a system. Secondly, that it's intuitive and it's easy to use. And third, that you're keeping it affordable for coaches that are just starting out. That's really important. So thank you for your work.
Oh, well, listen, in a way, you might say I did it for myself, because, the thing is I said to myself, well, you know what? If nobody buys this, it saves me what I call $1,000 an hour time
Yep.
doing $10 an hour work. And so my perspective was, it's going to save me 2 to 3 hours a week anyway. So even if I spent 25 or $50,000 back then
Yeah.
to develop the initial framework for this thing, it'd probably be worth it for me over the long haul anyway.
Yeah.
Uh, but once I realized that other people wanted to use it too, that's when I said, okay, now let's have some fun. Let's build a company.
I love it. I love it. That's just so brilliant. It makes so much sense. What are some of the unique elements of what you created and how do they stand out from the rest?
So a lot of, okay, that's a great question. So a lot of other products, as I said before, are pretty complex, and ours is simple. But here's the best part. Once you start using it with a client, if the client is keeping track of their own goals and stats. So let's, for example, you set up 6 goals or stats for your client. Now, if you're a health coach, it might be steps or calories. If you're a business coach, it might be profits or sales.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what type of coach you are, but if
Okay.
you could quantify how a client should be behaving as a result of the work you're doing with them, then here's the cool part. We can show you graphs and show your client graphs every single week of their progress. So one of the other things that we all know is that clients run into, in fact, we all run into mindset issues
Hmm.
when it comes to scaling anything, scaling life, scaling a business. It's the mindset that sometimes gets in the way. And one of the best ways to get over mindset issues is to have someone else hold you accountable. So if you said to me, Mitch, I really need some help. Could you hold me accountable to these goals? And I said, okay, Barbara, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write a set of questions for you every single week, and you have to answer the questions. And if I don't get the answers, then we can't meet again until you get the answers to me. And you say, okay, I promise I will. Right.
Wait, I'm waiting for the hammer to drop. Okay, so I promise I'm going to get those answers to you. And if I don't, I don't
Then,
get to meet
then,
with you. I don't get my coaching. I don't get my next step. And
yep,
yeah, and I'm sitting on the bench going, oh, oh no, what's
exactly. So that's what the software does for you. The software allows me as the coach to draw from a library of accountability questions, write my own, modify the ones in the library, and then every week send those questions out so that the client can answer them. And within 3 minutes of a session starting, used to take me 10 minutes. Now, 2 to 3 minutes before the session starts, I open up Client Folio, I check their answers, I check their dashboard to see if they've filled in their goals and stats, and then I begin the session.
nice?
Now we are building on progress week after week after week. Now, in the past, before I had this, and I had a client who showed up for a session, I said, "Well, how'd you do since last week?" Well, I didn't really have a chance to do that. Or, well, I'll tell you a funny story. Recently, I had a client, and I opened up a client folio 2 minutes before he was to show up. And I looked at his stats. He didn't enter any stats. I looked at his accountability questions. He didn't answer his accountability questions. So there he is on Zoom. And I say, so how's it going? And he goes, yeah, I had kind of had a rough week. I didn't get a chance to do that. I said, well, okay, here's the deal. You didn't answer your accountability question. You didn't fill in your stats. So we have nothing to talk about. Therefore, this session is canceled. So you go back and you please fill in your stats, handle your questions, and we will meet again next week. But this time, if you've only if you've done the work, and this time, as a courtesy, this won't count as a session, but next time it will. And he hung up on me.
Oh, perfect.
He hung up on me, and I said, well, okay, if that's the way he wants to be. About 30 minutes later, I get an email. He says, I want to apologize for acting like such a dummy. Um, and this is interesting. He said to me, you are the only person who has ever held me accountable in any of my businesses or in my life. So thank you. And I will be prepared next week and every week thereafter.
I love that. So that he had a huge breakthrough. It could have gone the other way, but it
Oh,
didn't. He became grateful that you were holding him accountable and he turned up and did the whole deal from there. For that's awesome. And I bet he'll have a lot of success moving forward because you put the foot down and said, no, you need to do the work that we talked about and you agreed to. I love
and
it.
I use the accountability questions to push through mindset issues. That's how I use them. Somebody else might use them a different way. You might have, if you're a coach and you're taking your clients through, say, a course,
Yes.
well, you could set up accountability questions for every single module in the course if you want,
Yeah.
and then just switch them out session by session, making sure that the individual who you're coaching finished that module and answered the questions. I mean, it really comes down to, that's why, people sometimes ask me, how do you get testimonials like that? Because my testimonials are pretty good.
Yeah.
And the answer is I just hold people accountable. I mean, they pay me to hold them accountable, and I actually do it.
It,
And,
love it.
and it's not rocket science. You know?
That's a, so we speak the same language in a lot of areas. It's funny because I've often said that, you know what, coaching isn't hard. I don't
No.
understand why there's people that are willing to sign up and pay a lot of money to become a coach when it's not that difficult. Number one, you're asking questions. It's so I'm intrigued by the fact that there's training companies out there that take 2 years to teach people how to coach.
Oh,
And I just like,
wow.
oh, I couldn't do it. I'd
Oh,
be bored crazy.
it
So
lose me pretty quick for sure.
yeah, that just wow. And so I so appreciate what you've put together. And if there's anybody that's interested in meeting Mitch or getting to know you better, what would you recommend that they, first of all, the books are great. So Power
Thank
Tribes,
you.
and then the last book that you just wrote, the Elevated Coach, that those are, yeah, there you go. Coach Elevation. Sorry.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Yeah. So
Coach Elevation. Yeah.
yeah. So Coach Elevation is another great book, I'm sure. And if you're thinking about scaling your business and wanting to grow your coaching business, which I can't imagine why you wouldn't want to do that, then this software is right. It seems like it's the right thing for you because it goes to different levels. If I'm not mistaken, not only can you coach your clients and have your clients log in and check their work in progress and see the graphs and charts and how much progress they've made, but also if you are what I call a master coach and you have other coaches working for you, they can also track their coaches, their progress, and their clients' progress. So that's really phenomenal that you've taken it to another level, in my opinion.
Well, see, I believe that coaches should be wealthy. It's and only, I mean, I do. And the reason is because they help people. And I have found that the only way to truly create a wealthy coach is to create a coach who is the CEO of a coaching organization. And I built the software from the ground up to run a coaching organization. And if you're a single coach, it's fine, but it's so easy to add a second coach. If you added two coaches, you completely replace your income and you actually have nothing to do now except manage your tiny little two
Coaches.
coach company.
I love
However, yeah, I
it.
mean, if you spent that time on marketing and now added more and more prospect and lead flow to the organization, now you can scale beyond 2 to 4 to 8 and more. So I wanted the software to become the starting point for many and grow with my clients. Recently, as I think I showed you, we just added a brand new high performance group coaching system directly into Clientfolio. So this beautiful dashboard that I've been talking about, using the advanced group coaching module, can, when you do a group session and you have, say, 20 or 100 or how many people you have in session, when you click send homework, now every individual will have a private login to their own client portal with their own dashboard answering their own questions.
That's brilliant. I love that. I love that because doing group coach, well, as you know, even with just 5 clients already, you're doing a lot of what you said, $1,000 an hour for $10 work, right? So you're doing a lot
Yeah.
of
Oh, yeah.
busy work is what I call it. We're doing a lot of busy work. And to have it all automated for a group, now you can really scale. Now you can really scale. Now you can really build your business big.
Exactly. And again, everywhere you turn, there's another little something that you'll discover in the software that makes your life a little easier or gives you a little bit more functionality. Now, remember, I told you about my first company, Timeslips Corporation. The way we built Timeslips Corporation was on user suggestions.
Nice.
Now, we didn't know the legal market. In fact, none of us were lawyers. We just knew marketing and software. So when we started selling software to lawyers, these lawyers started becoming our R&D department and started to provide ideas and suggestions for what they needed, but we
Yeah,
weren't delivering.
I love it. That's so great. That's really great.
So
Oh,
we have we used to have a database of suggestions that came in, And it was a company-wide database. So anybody at any level, they got a suggestion from a client, they would log into the database, enter it. And if we implemented that suggestion, we would usually send that client a note and a gift and call them out live if they were at one of our live events. And it
Oh,
was a lot of fun to do that. And now we basically do the same. So we've had lots of people call and say, I wish it had this.
mm-hmm.
And we say, great, thanks for letting us know. And we then add it to the roadmap. And then about every 3 or 4 months, we survey the user base with a survey and say, these are the things that we're planning, which are more important to you.
I love that. I love that. I think that's really wonderful. It's so great to be service oriented. I mean, that's kind of
Yeah.
what coaching is. I mean, we're there supporting people, helping them grow and live a life that they absolutely love, and more importantly, be on purpose with their life, whatever it is that they're meant to create and gift back to the world. We're helping them to discover that and then implement it and hold them accountable to moving forward with it. And I love that you're doing the same with the software and finding out what people need and then helping, implement it and then helping them to move forward. It's just wonderful.
It is so much fun. I got to tell you, I enjoy this part of my life so much. I love doing it. I have I have my team here, and there's a guy trained on answering support calls and or taking support questions, and every so often he comes up with something he can't figure out or he doesn't know, and I say, oh, goody, yay,
That's great. Yeah.
finally, yeah.
Opportunities, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I get to dig in and I just enjoy it. The other thing I love to do, if you can't tell, is that I love promoting it. I love talking about it. I love sharing this. I think of it as sharing a gift
Yeah.
with other people who I think
Sure.
once they unwrap this present and start to use it, it will provide incredible value and make them happy. I think that's part of it as well.
Yeah, it's simplifying things. And my background is in systems as well. So I have done the same thing that you talked about, is creating systems for coaching. So
Right.
my students have a system that's step by step. Here's how to help your client grow. And then now they can implement those steps into this software and help their clients to grow and easily track it. I think that is the toughest part, is tracking everything that you're helping your client with.
It's funny because again, years ago I had a client, and I felt like we made a lot of progress. We did some great work together. Revenue increased by 40%, and then at the end of the period of time that he had paid for, I said, "Well, I hope you're happy with the service, and if you would, I'd love a testimonial because that's kind of how I build my businesses, on testimonials." And he goes, "Well, why would I give you a testimonial? You didn't even do anything." I said, excuse me? I mean, didn't you tell me when we started that sales were here and now they're there? And he goes, well, yeah, but not really. I mean, and says to him, I said, no, I said to myself at that point, I said, you know what? This is my fault because I don't have a tracking system. I
Oh,
can't show this guy the progress we made.
because you
And
didn't track it. Oh God, yeah, that's right. I
right,
mean, okay, so I've had one client that I had for an entire year, and I did track, but it was a pain. Okay, so
yeah,
I mean, I would love to have had that software at the time, because
yeah.
I did it in a little notepad. I had every week everything that we had done, and she was so impressed that I kept
Mm.
that information. She goes, "Oh my gosh!" She had no idea how much she had done in a year, but because I had tracked it, it was like, thank God I tracked it.
Did you
So
see that?
that was a
Yeah.
good lesson that you learned there, not tracking it. And that's probably was the impetus for your software then.
Well, you saw the graphs when I showed you this
Yes.
product. You saw how easy it is. You just click one button, and now you have an entire screen filled with productivity graphs. I mean, this is really, to me, and like I said before, and I think you agree, it's so simple. This is not rocket science. It's just
It's so true.
every week you just write down the numbers. It's not a big deal.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes. Agreed.
Now, I don't want to take away from, the individual brilliance of a coach and
Right.
their domain expertise and what they bring to the table. I
Yeah.
don't want to minimize that at all. I just want to make it clear that everything we do enhances that. Our goal is to
Yes.
make that even more valuable.
Truly, and easier
Right.
too. I mean, the easier part is really nice, and the more valuable part for the client is very nice too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the whole idea about the new book, the reason I wrote the book was because this process, which is as simple as can be, uh, turned out to make some changes in other people's lives. And it wasn't like I'm not a life coach. Trust me, Barbara. I probably need a life coach, but I am not a life coach. But I did kind of discover this very simple series of questions that got past the ego and helped people sort of see themselves from a different perspective, the perspective of not caring or wanting money. And once you
Mm,
remove money and ask somebody what they truly want to do, and you ask them a lot over and over again until you finally get to the right answer,
yeah.
then you start to uncover what their real values are as well. And then you then combine that with what they're doing or planning to do in their life or their business, and you have removed an obstacle that is far bigger than most people realize.
Yeah.
That obstacle has stopped people, and it goes back to mindset.
Yeah.
It changes the way you operate once you know you're aligned, and that's really what it comes down to. I've had clients cry, men, by the way, not women only. I've had clients cry after we go through this 20-30 minute process. I had one client, I took them through the process. They said, could we end the session early? I need to lay down. I just want to take in what just happened. And if it's okay, we'll reschedule. And I said, of course. Yeah. And, listen, it's not ayahuasca. Don't take it the wrong way. It's not like, you know, it's not like I need to process. Oh my God. But it is, it is
Yeah,
it's kind of a bit of a jolt because
it
you're
is.
looking at life I mean, think about it. We have all been brought up from almost the day we can talk to value only money.
Yeah.
And then later we figured, yes, there's other things. And, maybe I'm really not about that. But when you strip that away completely, and it takes a bit of work, and you
Yeah.
see what's really there, and you can align that with a business, oh my God, you're on fire.
Totally. I so agree with you. And it's the same experience that I've had with coaching when it's almost like you said, it's back to how we were raised,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Uh, they call it super moms. What is that about? Okay. So, we were all raised to be productive and, go out and make the money and get the house and get, all that kind of stuff. And the reality is when somebody taps into what's really in their heart and what is their divine gift that they're most really supposed to be doing and giving back to the world, when they get tapped into that and they get permission to go forward with it, that's
Mm,
when the tears goes like, oh my God, yes, this is it, this is what it's supposed to be doing, and this is my path. I can feel it. It's like all the, oh my gosh, goosebumps right everywhere.
yeah.
It's like, yes, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be on fire for this. And now how am I going to make this work? And that's where I think the great coaching comes in. How am I going to transition from I was this super mom, I was this, super employee, I was this super person in all these areas that didn't really thrill me, but hey, look, I got a house, I got a car, I got that,
Mm,
which is those are all things,
yes,
and people are what's important, in
that's
my
right.
opinion. I'll just say in my opinion, people and what we can contribute and gift, and helping somebody is so rewarding, and then
Well,
allowing someone to help us in return,
mm.
that's another gift that we get to give people.
That's right. You've uncovered it, and like I said, I know you can articulate it far better than me. I'm just a business coach that figured out how to ask six particular questions that gets people to that point. But clearly, I don't have the skills that you guys do. Everybody in your group knows how to navigate these waters far better than me. I'm kind of crude in this regard. Okay, good. We got that. Now let's come on. Let's build a company here. So I just felt like I need to put that in perspective. But I think if nothing else, the Coach Elevation book is a good quick read. It's only about 90 pages, and
Nice.
And it'll also give you some ideas about how to integrate clientfolio into your practice as well. So I do suggest the book. It is free. And
Oh,
so,
nice.
yeah, so
So how
people
do they
could,
get that book?
they could go to coachelevation.com. That's
Coach,
simple.
that's easy.
Coachelevation.com and download the book. It's a PDF. If you like to physically carry the book around with you, which I like to do because I like paper books,
Me too.
go on Amazon. You can buy it on Amazon. If you want it on your Kindle, go on Amazon, get it on Kindle. If you give me another couple of weeks, you can go on Amazon and get it on Audible too. It's not there yet.
Oh, cool. All right. So it's brand new, folks. Get it here
Yeah,
while it's hot off the press.
you got it. You got it.
All right. Well, I think it's important we got your website there on the screen. So if anybody is interested in finding out more about Mitch Russo, you can go right to his website. You can go to coachelevation.com and get the book. Is there any other place that you'd like people to know about you? Are you on LinkedIn and all that?
I'm on all the social media, and anybody who's listening and exclusively who are your members are going to get a link, a special link that I prefer you didn't share, just for your members, Barbara. Everybody will get a 20% discount. And to be honest, this is Barbara's generosity because she gave up her affiliate commission for you guys. So if you don't mind me saying that, I apologize if I
No, I
spoke out of
don't.
school,
Thank you.
but
Yeah,
I think that that says a lot about who you are, Barbara, too. And I
thank
want to say
you.
thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, well, here's my heart. Okay, my heart says we want everybody to have a coach.
Yes.
And we want to have great coaches out there helping people change their lives for the better.
Yeah,
Even if they only coach one client, they've changed the world for the better through one client.
you're right.
So the more that we can give to our coaches to help them get up on their feet and run a successful coaching business, the better off we're all going to be.
That's right.
So
Exactly.
that's how I feel about that.
That's
So
great.
yeah,
So
so I'm looking forward for you to get the link. We don't have it just yet, but we'll have it soon, and you'll get it in an email from me directly to all the coaches out there. So thank you so much, Mitch, for your generosity, because it takes two to do that game. And
yes.
I really appreciate learning more about you and getting to know you. And you have such a rich background with software and working in business and helping people scale and helping companies scale. In fact, scaling your own companies. It's amazing what you do. And so if anybody's looking for a business coach, you now know Mitch Russo, and I highly recommend spending some time with him if you can.
Thank you, Barbara. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.